How's it going, everyone? It is Olin here. Welcome back to another video as always. So there's no secret that this past week has been pretty shitty for the gaming industry as a whole. Just so many news stories have kind of broke out, mainly two big ones revolving about Naughty Dog and Visceral Games. So I really wanted to talk about these things just in general and kind of give my thoughts over, because these are pretty serious topics at hand, especially, you know, when it comes down to morals, as well as just comes down to, you know, a studio getting shut down and people getting laid off. And yeah, I guess both of these stories are in no way positive, so if you're looking into this video for the first time not knowing what any of these news stories are, it's definitely not in the positive light. So I know a lot of you guys have pretty much heard about these stories, and yeah, it's been nothing but unpleasant so far, especially the Naughty Dog situation, and I guess I'll start with that one. So if you guys didn't know, David Ballard has recently come out and talked about how he had a really bad situation involving, you know, one of the leads at Naughty Dog. We don't know if it's a multiplayer or a single player. We're kind of thinking it's a multiplayer at this point, and multiplayer lead that is at Naughty Dog. And basically it's taken this whole, you know, Harvey Weinstein situation where everyone's coming out about how, you know, sexual harassment. And he pretty much came out and said he was sexually harassed at Naughty Dog. So yeah, I guess I'll just read over what he had to say during this time. So he said, in late 2015, I was sexually harassed at Naughty Dog by a lead. My work environment became extremely toxic afterwards. In February 2016, I had a mental breakdown at work, and Sony PlayStation HR became involved. When I told them about the harassment, they ended the call and fired me the next day. They cited the company was moving in a different direction, my job was no longer needed. They tried to silence me by offering $20,000 if I signed a letter agreeing to the termination, as well as not to discuss this with anyone. I declined to sign, and I have been employed for 17 months since. When interviewers ask why I left Naughty Dog, I say I was burnt out by the crunch, ashamed to get to the root of the problem of being sexually harassed. I'm speaking out because of the strength I've seen in others coming forward and our experience with the TV film industry. I will not let anyone kill my drive or love from the video game industry, my passions, or life. And that's pretty much the end of his statement. So yes, very dark stuff in, you know, general, and it's just really sickening how supposedly on his stance, Sony / you know, Naughty Dog tried to cover this up by trying to pay him out of it, and overall, you know, not firing the lead itself. But Naughty Dog did come with a response, and their response was pretty much saying that they didn't have any idea that this happened, pretty much saying that they were not aware of this, and kind of was like a declined statement saying that, you know, this never happened really, in, you know, to their knowledge at least. And yeah, it's up to PlayStation HR if this really did happen. Personally, I think that he wouldn't have come out and said this for no reason. Obviously, there's some truth to his story. I definitely think the truth probably lies somewhere in between, but definitely with this guy getting harassed, it probably was to some degree, as he stated. I don't think he'd be making up specifics like 20,000 at least. And overall, just talking about PlayStation HR coming in the problem, it just definitely doesn't, you know, scream anything that he'd make up. And yeah, I think the truth probably lies somewhere in between. So yeah, very dark stuff. We like to think that our favorite companies are kind of like perfect. You know, when we think of Naughty Dog, we think of, oh, our favorite games, but it's kind of crazy to think that all this nasty stuff can still happen in some of these areas. Of course, he could be lying at the same time, but I definitely don't kind of agree with that kind of point of view based on the facts we have right now. I'm wondering if we're going to get more information, you know, down the road. I hope so, because this is definitely a serious issue that we kind of want some resolution with. And yeah, so Naughty Dog's statement, I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to point fingers at certain people, as some people have been doing on the internet. You know, people have been making the meme of Quentin Cobb and stuff. It's kind of inappropriate, I guess you could say, at this point in time, but yeah, definitely really sickening, and yeah, just disgusting. So the next, you know, story kind of broke out today, and this is also a really bad one, especially if you're into story-driven games. EA shut down Visceral Games, you know, the whole Amy Hennig's new IP Star Wars direction that they're going to go in. You know, pretty much what happened is, you know, through playtest, quote-unquote playtest, they realized that fans wanted to come back to this game that Visceral was cooking up, and they decided to pretty much lay off all of Visceral Games, take their concept, kind of like their ideal, move it to a different studio. I believe the studio listed is EA Vancouver, and pretty much they're going to be taking the helm of the project with the assets they already have, and pretty much going to be making kind of like a service game, kind of something like Destiny or something, where you get DLC, you get microtransactions, you get a game that keep expanding over time. It's probably going to be a lot more focused on multiplayer rather than single player. And they pretty much killed off one of the best story-driven teams out there. You know, Visceral Games was known for Dead Space. They were known for Battlefield Hardline as of recently. Of course, that wasn't really story-driven that much, but I reckon Battlefield Hardline was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a terrible game, but definitely wasn't their best work. I think definitely Dead Space was at the highlight of their career, and Amy Hennig, you know, joining the project of the new Star Wars IP was definitely promising. One of the things we don't know yet is we don't know where Amy Hennig lies in all this. We don't know if she's going to be joining the people over at EA Vancouver. I'm kind of guessing, based on my gut feeling, that she probably is not going to be part of this whole new direction. To me, personally, I don't see why they would have Hennig on board if they're going to be making this an in-service game. You know, Amy Hennig is probably someone that you want for something like maybe writing a game. You know, she was known obviously for the Uncharted games, helping direct those games, and you know, I don't think she really has a role anymore with EA, and it's just really stupid. And honestly, EA and Activision, those are like the two big companies that a lot of people like to fire off of. They do all the shitty traditions that a lot of people, you know, cry out about microtransactions. I even made my last video was all about microtransactions, and yeah, EA obviously is just looking to get money and in-service games rather than story-focused games, and it seems like the genre is kind of dying off. And it is really kind of scary because it seems like if you want story-driven games, you're gonna have to get it from smaller people, and it seems like Sony's actually like one of the last people that are still, I guess, pushing for this kind of, you know, tale or kind of like game genre that's dying off, which is really scary. So yeah, me personally, I don't even know how we can really solve this. If you guys want to change this in terms of how these games are just, you know, working, it just seems like the casual audience especially is like buying into all the microtransactions, and you know, they only really care for games like Destiny or something like Call of Duty or something like Overwatch, where you can get multiplayer out of everything instead of actually getting single player focused games, which is really, you know, just sad to see. Visceral Games was definitely like, you know, their project, the new Star Wars IP was definitely something I was looking forward to in 2018, and was a big bummer to hear that, you know, pretty much their whole team was just laid off, and that whole new direction that they're going to be going with the game is going to be more on a whole in-service game. It's just really sickening. EA talk about, you know, making games I don't care about anymore. You know, they've been doing all these Star Wars games as of recently. Even Respawn's working on a Star Wars game after Titanfall 2 now. It's just the only one I really cared about was possibly Respawn's new IP to see what they're going to do with it, but mainly Amy Hennig's new IP and seeing what they're going to do. It felt like kind of like a Star Wars / Uncharted game at the same time. At least what we saw and heard, saw based on like what, those 3 seconds, I guess. But yeah, it just shows I honestly really don't care for any more games. I'm probably not going to be buying Battlefront 2 because that game just doesn't interest me really. And from what I played from the beta, it's just another one of those multiplayer games that I could just find elsewhere. So yeah, it's really sickening and just really concerning more for the most part. Definitely this past week has not really been that good for the gaming industry as a whole. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below, especially the Naughty Dog one. I guess that's more of a moral kind of thing, as well as, you know, this whole EA shutting down Visceral Games is more of like a, we're not going to get their new IP, and just the whole, you know, game directions that they're going to be going with, at least with EA's focusing on, and just as the industry's going as a whole. So yeah, very interested. Of course, this is just my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, of course. Maybe I will make a problem with EA in the future. That's definitely something that might be rising now because of EA. But yeah, man, that's really sickening. And yeah, so anyways guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Of course, I'm going to be making one of those big videos again. I'm hoping to make that a series, The Problem With. A new top 10 video will hopefully be coming out within the next couple of days that I'm working on. I kind of wanted to fit this in between because I really wanted to talk about this, just of course, as you know, the gaming industry as a whole. I really felt passionate in talking about this because I'm really sick about both of these stories, and hopefully at least the rest of this week and next week will be better. So I appreciate you guys sticking out for the whole video. And yeah, I just appreciate the support lately. Past videos have been great, and yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Take care.